Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of Comment Foolery Exposed. This is going to be the male edition because ever since I picked up my Decentering Men series again, I got a ton of comments from different beluga males on the internet. And by the way, I want to do an episode about how most men are belugas as well. So all this shit that they talk about women, oh, well, she's not my looks match and she's a 5 out of 10, she's a 4 out of 10. Okay, well, the male obesity rates are higher than ever. So I don't want to hear any more talk about rating women on a scale from 1 to 10. Any man who reduces a woman's entire existence on a scale, that's an incel talking point. But let's get into some of these comments. This person says, decenter men, but dedicates her free time to talking about men. So this is a typical silencing tactic. By the way, a lot of pick-me's came out of the woodworks on my channel as well. Ma'am, if you're a pick-me, just say it. And by the way, I honestly feel like some of these accounts are actually men who pretend to be women and they're just commenting in the exotical space. But it's like, why are you trying to silence women? So now my freedom of speech is gone because I decenter men. So I'm no longer able to mention men at all. I'm not allowed to help other women. A lot of people, they want women to stay stuck. They don't want women to be in a position of power. So that's why they get mad when I make decentering men content. The point of my content is not supposed to be about hating men. It's about taking men off the pedestal. It's about not centering your self-esteem and your emotional state on men. It's about getting rid of the codependency that comes with seeking male attention. We live in a society where people literally train you as a woman. They train you to seek male attention. And don't even get me started on if you're a black woman. I mean, the male-centeredness and the pick-me culture in the black community is insane. So me making decentering men content, in reality, all I'm doing is balancing things out. But this person wants me to be quiet, and apparently my channel needs to be canceled because that's the real way to decenter men, is to never talk about it. This guy says, not holding women accountable for their actions choosing these men is not surprising. Typical shallow women. Okay, so apparently it is my responsibility to hold every single woman on earth accountable for the men that they choose. So suddenly I'm the queen of the female gender. So I just went from being silenced in the last comment to now being the queen of every woman in the world. I'm supposed to be chastising you and scolding you. Basically, I'm supposed to be giving you an emotional whooping. I'm supposed to be whooping your ass for choosing the wrong man. And it's like, okay, which one is it? Are my talking points valid or not? And also, this whole concept of, oh, you need to hold women accountable for choosing these men. Okay, what does that even look like? And also, who is the right man? Because you're talking about, oh, they're just choosing wrong. They should have chose better. Okay, so show me what better is. Why is it that when you go to male YouTube channels and they talk about Chad, they'll be like, oh, this guy's a Chad, or this guy is like the alpha male. Why is it that all of you guys as examples of alpha males are literally just misogynistic men who are not even attractive? They can't even get a girlfriend that is attractive. All this talk about looks matching, they say that a man should have a woman who matches his level of looks. Okay, well, all these quote-unquote alpha males on YouTube, anytime they get a girlfriend, the girlfriend doesn't match his level of looks anyway. So you're talking about women are choosing the wrong man, but you can't show me an example of who the right man is. Has anyone ever noticed that? The men who talk about alphas, they never have an example of the type of man they're trying to be. Have you ever noticed that the men who make these YouTube channels, they never tell you who their male role models are? And that's because the average man in general does not have any male role models. The average man is a lone wolf. Men in general tend to be really bad at creating communities. And so that's why even if you're dating a guy, all you have to do is ask that man, hey, who are your role models? Who were your male role models growing up? And watch him go silent. So all this talk about, oh, we're choosing the wrong man, but then they never say what the right man is. And they try to make it like they are the right men when we know damn well that they're not. This comment says, I think you may be projecting, talking about your father in this one. Okay, so this is basically the equivalent of a yo mama joke. So if I'm holding men accountable, suddenly it's, oh, well, your father is dusty. Your father's a failure. Okay, so let's talk about father figures for a second. Because I find it interesting that people want to shame women who don't have a father figure. They want to shame women for not having a good relationship with their dad. But then usually it's a baby daddy who's making that comment. According to stats, majority of men over the age of 40 have children, so they're baby daddies. The divorce rate is at 50%, so that means that at least 50% of two-parent homes will be broken within, what, a decade? So I find it interesting that this guy makes a random comment calling us fatherless, or calling me fatherless and making an assumption. And by the way, I'm not fatherless. My parents are actually still together. I have a very good relationship with both my mother and my father. I wouldn't be where I am in life if it weren't for my father. But do you see the projection here? So they look down on women who come from single mothers. I don't like how men treat single mothers. Has anyone else noticed that? It's like, okay, so you don't shame the father for leaving, but you want to shame the parent who stayed? Do you see how they gaslight women? It's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's another reason you should decenter them. And by the way, for the women who don't have fathers, for the women whose fathers were bad, it's like, okay, so if your father decentered you, if your father decentered your mother and decentered his own children, why is it that you as a woman should start centering men? Do you see the mental illness there? So it's okay for fathers to decenter their families. It's okay for men to have a midlife crisis and go cheat. It's okay for men to use women and go 50-50 and then use that money to pay for a younger woman. So that's all a form of decentering women. That father has decentered his entire family. But if you're a young woman who has a bad relationship with your father, you're just projecting. Any problem you have is because of your father. Sir, you just exposed yourself. You're literally admitting then that men are the source of social problems in our society. So thank you for proving my point. This comment, this guy says, ma'am, most people aren't models or actors regardless of gender. You sound just as gay as those red pill weirdos who go around bashing women. Just say you like to eat coochie. It's 2026. This comment is actually hilarious, but it's like, okay, so if I tell the truth that most of you guys are unattractive, suddenly I'm gay. And also, do you see their internalized homophobia? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this man is on the DL himself. I mean, he's got his little sunglasses on in the photo. He's got his hair slicked back. It's like, sir, you're calling other people gay. I mean, are you even straight? Omerto 5599? And also, even if women are gay, who cares? Like, what's wrong with women who decide to be gay, or they want to be celibate, or they want to be asexual? And also, he says that most people are not models or actors regardless of gender. When did I say that most people are actors? I've noticed that dusty men are the ones who look up to models and actors. It's dusty men who look up to Michael B. Jordan. It's dusty men who look up to LeBron James and all these different, like, I can't remember the guy who played Captain America, but it's dusty men who use these men as their examples. So remember how I talked about how most men don't have any role models? So what ends up happening is men become very susceptible to whatever is portrayed in the media. That's what they end up looking up to. Just like how I said that their beauty standards are based on Hollywood and corn. So it's like, okay, you're not a model, you're not an actor. By the way, a lot of the women on this channel actually are women who have done modeling or women who have done acting, because this is actually a channel for pretty privileged women. And I've noticed this talking point where it's like, oh, if you're not a model, if you're not an actress, if you're not a 10 out of 10, you deserve to be mistreated. And that's yet another reason to decenter men. Because look at how they're trying to rank women on a scale. Like, oh, well, you know, most of you guys aren't models. Most of you guys aren't actresses. Most of you guys aren't pretty anyway. Okay, so does that mean it's okay to disrespect her then? Because she's not an actor? I don't have to be a model or an actress in order for my talking points to be valid. Do you see what people do when they can't argue with their talking points? They try to make it personal against you. Oh, well, you must have a bad father. Well, you're just gay. You're in the closet. Oh, well, you're not a model. You're not an actress. Notice how none of these men have been able to address my actual talking points. All of it is just comments projecting insults onto me as the content creator. This guy says, if life for a man is just struggle, victory, and then reward, then what is it for a woman? I'm all ears. So this comment was left under my video where I said men were like, oh, I don't want a woman waiting at the finish line. So the first sentence, if life for a man is just struggle, okay, I already disagree right there. I don't believe that my life is defined by struggle. So I can't relate to that. I feel like my life is whatever I make it out to be for myself. I talk about having a soft life on this channel, and I talk about women taking control over their own lives again. It's hilarious how men, they try to mention accountability. They'll be like, oh, well, you guys are not being held accountable. And it's like, well, actually, yes, we are, because we're decentering men from the equation. We're no longer looking to men to solve all of our life problems. We're no longer looking to men to give us the soft life. We are choosing to give that to ourselves. So that's the ultimate accountability right there. So saying that, oh, life for a man is just struggle. Okay, well, you just exposed another reason that we should decenter men then, because you're admitting that basically, if I attach myself to you, I'm going to be struggling. You literally just admitted that I'm going to be a struggle bunny by attaching myself to a man. But he's like, if life for a man is struggle, victory, and then reward, then what is it for a woman? Okay, so saying that you're going to struggle, then have a victory and a reward, that's another red flag, because it's like, okay, let's say you get with a man and he just got out of the struggle, right? So he came from the bottom or whatever, he kind of leveled up. What's going to happen when that man levels up again while we're in a relationship? You're basically admitting that men view women on a hierarchy. You're admitting that as that man levels up over and over throughout his life, that he's going to keep on wanting to level up his partner. So that's another, you just exposed yourself again within the second phrase of the first sentence. Oh, well, it's victory and then reward. Okay, well, what do most men reward themselves with? Usually they reward themselves with women. Usually men reward themselves with sex, or they reward themselves with bad forms of escapism, such as smoking weed, being addicted to video games, neglecting their families, and staying at the gym for 7 hours when he's got a newborn baby at home. You know, he'll be over here leaving the mom to take care of the baby while he's at the gym training for triathlons, training for marathons, and then making the excuse that, oh, he's just rewarding himself. He just wants to feel good. Okay, so then why can't women do the same thing? I want to have a reward. My reward for myself is giving myself the soft life. My reward is peace. Peace is happiness. This guy says it doesn't matter what title you blacks give yourselves. You are still hard ERs to us Europeans. Okay, it's very obvious that this is a fake account because this person commented on my channel several different times. I'm pretty sure this person is just trolling, because look at this person's other comment. This guy is all over my YouTube channel, twerking in my comment section. He's tap dancing for my attention in the comment section. And then he finally got fed up at me not responding. So then apparently he's trying to call us hard ERs to get a response. But this person here says women on here pretending that the men they're trying to shame are not most likely around the same level looks-wise as them is hilarious. So here we go again with this looks matching theory. That is the most bullshit theory I've ever heard in my life. Most men do not get their quote-unquote looks match. I mean, let's be honest, they don't. Also, looks matching doesn't really exist anymore because women have access to beauty enhancements. Men don't have access to beauty enhancements. Well, they do, but they're too scared and cowardly to go and get the hair transplant, so they just let themselves become bald. You know, most men they don't have the confidence to actually enhance their appearance. Most men have the fear of being seen way worse than women, and that's why you have men lurking behind anonymous accounts commenting on exotical channels. So this man is saying basically that the men you're rejecting are on the same level as you in terms of looks. Okay, even if that were the case, so what? Who gon' check us? It's hilarious how men created the patriarchal system we live in, but then they get mad when women are hypergamous. And by the way, men are also hypergamous as well. Men are actually hypergamous in terms of looks. They're hypergamous in terms of youth. They want a woman younger than them. He's hypergamous in terms of social status. He wants a woman who has more fame than him, more clout than him. He wants a woman whose ethnicity has more social status than his ethnicity. This is why, they call women gold diggers. Well, men are youth diggers, they're beauty diggers, they're whiteness diggers, they're Hispanic Latina diggers, they're fetish diggers, they're big booty diggers. So it's like, okay, you're actually hypergamous because you want someone who has a higher sexual market value than yourself. All this talk about SMV, oh, well, your sexual market value is low. Okay, well, you're hypergamous, sir, because you want a woman who's more attractive than you. You don't want a woman who looks just like a man, right? I mean, if you're a heterosexual man, I'm assuming that you want a woman who's pretty, because a part of feminine privilege is also being pretty as well, looking like a woman. So, isn't it interesting that suddenly they're talking about looks matching? Do you see what I mean when I say that men, they literally try to compete with everything? So now we're in a competition to see who looks better, who's prettier. So you don't deserve that man because he looks better than you. Also, who decides who looks better and who doesn't? Oh, well, they're your looks match. Looks match according to who? Based on what beauty standard? On white beauty standards or what? Because if you're doing looks matching based on whiteness or white beauty standards, okay, then that means you shouldn't be going for light skinned women then if you're dark skinned. You need to stick with dark skinned black women. You shouldn't be going for Latinas if you're a different ethnicity. You need to stick within your looks match, which is basically your phenotype match. That's really what it is. Whenever I hear these men talk about looks matching, all they show is pictures of couples where they just have the same phenotype. So if you want to be monoracial and monocultural, just say it. This person says, why are you gay? Somebody else says, go lesbian. Somebody being gay or lesbian, that does not negate their talking points. This person says, I'm a man. Well, dusty excuse for a man, that is, but I totally agree with everything you say. I think only a woman who maybe potentially would be okay to be around me is a beluga. But I won't afford to feed her, so I'm staying by myself and watch corn all day. So this guy is basically admitting that belugas have lower standards. He feels like the only type of woman that would tolerate him is an overweight woman. Do you see why I talk so much about like thin privilege? Because men will literally look down on you when you're overweight. They literally will rate you as having less social status. They're ranking women based on their social status. So he's literally admitting that he's a dusty, but, you know, he could still get a beluga. He could still get a big girl. So he's basically stereotyping women. The bigger you are, the easier you are. The bigger you are, the dustier you'll settle for. The dustier your boyfriend is if you're big. And he also admits that he's a sad excuse for a man and he just sits around and watches corn all day. So he is still funding the lifestyle of ex-workers. Because for every view that those women get on these corn sites or OnlyFans or Camgirl, whatever, those women get paid off of that. And I know that men are going to argue and say, oh, well, they don't get paid that much. Okay, well, they get paid enough to where you've got millions of women signing up for it. If it was truly that bad, you wouldn't have women quitting their jobs to become ex-workers then. The ex-work industry would die off if there was no economy for it. So it's men like this that actually keep on raising the status and lifestyles of the same women they hate. So all this talk about whores, all this shit talking, but then they're funding the lifestyle of these quote-unquote whores. They're going to strip clubs so they can watch these quote-unquote whores slide down a pole. This person says, bold talk for one who refuses to show their face. I see what this is. A MAGA bougie grift. Men are the most beautiful in nature. I believe the same is true in humans. So men are more attractive than women. So do you see how they're in a beauty contest with us again? And by the way, this guy is talking about me not showing my face. This man is not showing his face in his profile pic. He literally has a cartoon avatar just like me. So if men are so much more attractive than women, then why don't we see women fighting over men on average? Why does it seem to be the opposite? Because we all know that men want women way more than women want men. Why is it that on dating apps, the majority of the demographic on apps is men? So we all know that men's main dating strategy is to go on dating apps. But with this guy's comment about us being anonymous YouTubers, I find it interesting. Basically, he's doing that same thing that a lot of femcel women do with the exoticals. They'll be like, oh, prove to me how pretty you are. You're probably ugly. That's why you don't show yourself. So he's doing that same thing. If you're ugly, your talking points are invalid. Only pretty girls can come on the internet and talk this much shit. But this person says once the ugly guy scores a baddie, he is going to think he is a top tier male and he will try his luck with other baddies. It doesn't guarantee he is going to be faithful. Yes, that's exactly what it is. A lot of times when a pretty girl gets with a man, that man becomes arrogant and he starts thinking, oh, well, if I can get her, then who else can I get? Oh, wow. Well, if I can sleep with her, how many other girls can I get? Oh, I got this one light skinned baddie. How many other light skinned baddies can I get? Oh, I got this big booty girl. How many other big booty girls can I get? So it's almost as if they see women as like these collectible toys, these collectible items. It's like they see women as a possession. It's kind of like you're a notch on their belt. So that's another reason to not center your life around them. Why would I center my life around someone who doesn't view me as human? This person says, but your sons grow up to be men and are part of the family, and they bring in their own women once they get married, and you have to deal with their future sons who will eventually become men as well. This guy is trying to basically guilt me into no longer talking about men on my channel. Just because somebody has a son, that doesn't mean that their talking points go out the window. I have a father, I have brothers. But my talking points still stand. And I know that there are exceptions, but the exceptions don't make the rule. So that's what I talk about on this channel. This is a sociology channel, so I will always talk about different aspects of society. So just because someone has male relatives doesn't mean that suddenly all men are angels. It doesn't suddenly mean that all men are freaking Fabio and Prince Charming. But he says, you imply most of your brothers, sisters, and relatives who have sons and grow up to be men are ugly. Well, I mean, according to society, yes, that tends to be true. It tends to be true that most women in general, they're not attracted to as many men as the other way around. Being an attractive man will never be as powerful as being an attractive woman. Female pretty privilege will always be more powerful than male pretty privilege. Because our society worships feminine beauty. Our society doesn't worship masculine beauty in the same way. So having brothers and fathers, that doesn't negate that talking point. But this guy says, I mean, you really shoot yourself in the foot on this one when it comes to logic. It's like those guys who raise women to be princess daughters, but they grow up to not have any accountability, and they look for simps like their father to look after them and use them up dry. Okay, so first, he literally tried to guilt me for having a father and brothers, and now he's admitting that fathers are simps. So fatherhood means you're simping then. Oh, well, if you're a father who treats your daughter like a princess, then you're a simp. So what are fathers supposed to do? Are they supposed to abuse their daughters? Are they supposed to be mean to their daughters? How is a man supposed to treat his little girl? Because do you see how his talking point actually falls in on itself? Oh, well, if you're a dad who treats your daughter like a princess, you're a simp, and basically you're a bitch. But he says that these women grow up to not have any accountability, and they look for simps like their father to look after them and use them up dry. It really is sad that you don't really see how much of a contradiction you are. Okay, so we get shamed for not having fathers, but now you got this guy who is shaming me for having a father that treats me like a princess. Do you see how you're damned if you do, damned if you don't? So having a good father is bad because then you're going to be a spoiled brat who has no accountability. But then if you have no father, that's also bad because, like, you're a ratchet hood booger at that point. You were raised by a single mother. So you're literally admitting that having a father is worthless then. This person says, we know you hate us, but I never bother women, so it hurts knowing that half the population automatically hates me. I just work and go home since now I'm scared to be bothering any girl. Okay, that sounds like a personal problem to me, sir. Also, do you see the victim complex here? Oh, half the population hates me. Oh my God, everybody just hates me. So decentering men equals hating men. Do you see how he's conflating those two? He's conflating decentering with, like, legit hatred. By the way, if a woman hates you, who commits more hate crimes in society? Men or women? This guy says, women use tons of makeup to cover their ugly faces, their wrinkles, and use lift butts and boobs to sell the idea they are desirable. The wall in women is the truth they do not want to accept. young women, even if they are not pretty enough, are more desirable than old women of 30 or more years, no matter how much makeup, surgeries, and fixes they do. It's a fact. Okay, so if being 30 and above makes you worthless, that's even more of a reason to decenter men. Okay, so if you're 30 and above, according to this guy, you should decenter men because he's admitting right here that men will find you to be unattractive then. Okay, so then why should we center our lives around men? And by the way, if you're in your 20s, you should be as arrogant and conceited as possible if you're a woman because you're going to be the most desirable according to this man. This person says, men have no control over their height, though. What do you want men to do? Wish to be taller? LOL. So, do you see how this random commenter is under my channel looking for solutions? Isn't that interesting? I thought that women are basically like worthless and, I shouldn't even have a channel because I'm supposed to be decentering men, so I can't talk about them. But here you got a man who's asking me, a woman, for a solution to his social problems. Do you see what I mean when I say that men in general are actually not the true protectors and providers and leaders? Because they're looking for a woman to lead them right now. He's basically saying, what do I do? Should I wish to be taller? I'm a short guy. How do I solve this? How do I solve the problem of being short? How do I solve the problem of being a manlet? How do I solve the problem of being a hobbit? And by the way, when it comes to men's height, first of all, there are women who still like short men or whatever. But isn't it interesting how men will literally just suffer in silence? It's like, dude, you could have got some elevator shoes. Just go get some high heels and live your best life, sir. If you are that desperate to be tall, then get some freaking elevator shoes, go get the height BBL, and live your best life. Because men are the ones who put themselves on a hierarchy. I never pedestalized tall men. I didn't realize how much social status tall men had until I came on YouTube and saw men putting tall men on a pedestal. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, well I guess I'm never talking to a guy that's shorter than 6 foot then, because apparently being 6 feet or above, apparently that's more desirable and, that's higher status. Because even men are bowing down at the feet of tall men. Even men are bowing down and worshiping men who are 6 feet and above. So that proves my point again that men are actually the submissive ones. This man says, and most women in America are fat and broke. Okay, so if you're fat and broke as a woman, that means that you deserve an unattractive man. Okay, so thank you for proving my point that you should have thin privilege and you should also have pretty privilege. So this channel doesn't even have a whole bunch of fat, unattractive women on it. So that's cope. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.